Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Raw Instinct. Today, we're going to be watching a video describing the dark future of Indian workers, why many of them are burnt out, and why many of them are stuck in wage slavery. I thought this would be an interesting video to break down. I came across it, it was quite a sad video, but many of the points that this documentary hits on is is the possible reality here in the West. Okay, this can be extrapolated all onto the rest of the world. Okay, many people are feeling the same. I mean, recently we've done a couple of videos looking at China, for example. We looked at Korea, and they are facing a similar sort of a issue with the demands placed on workers, the demands placed on the workforce, which is leading to many people being burnt out, many people losing hope, many people losing faith, and leading to a generation that is now looking at the possibility of giving up in with many people self-deleting, with many people not being able to cope with the demands. Okay, and with AI looming over everybody's heads, okay, this could be a possibility that many of these people could be replaced. Okay, so not only are they overworked, overstressed, okay, because of a competitive job market, many of these people don't have no choice to walk away, because if they do, they'll be replaced by somebody else, right? um that they live in a very highly educated society. Okay, many people are getting degrees in India. Many people are willing to sacrifice their mind, their freedoms, in order to secure a job, secure a career, and work literally themselves to the ground, right, to the point of where they are not able to cope anymore, to the point of where they are now looking at the real possibility of you know turning towards giving up. Okay, and this is what we do not want. We don't want the whole of the humanity to give up and be led down to a place of where they feel like they can't cope. We are being led to a place, we here on this channel are leading people to a place of hope, a place where people can find fulfillment again in life. Okay, and we are becoming the leaders of that movement, right? We here at Raw Instinct, we are building kingdoms, we are building and establishing ourselves as the new rulers who will come and bring forward a new way of life, a better way of living. Okay, a more freer life, right? Because the elites, the people at the top, the people who are paying these salaries for these people, they do not care about their well-being. They do not care how they are treated. Okay, they are misusing their position of power over these people, and whether you succeed or fail, they don't care. Okay, because if you do fail, they'll just replace you with somebody who is willing to go above and beyond. Okay, work themselves into the ground, right? And that they will um yeah, I mean, if that person succeeds, like I said, they'll just be replaced. Okay, so these people don't have a care. They don't care about your well-being. They just want the results. They just want profit. Okay, and the reason why it's interesting to see what is happening in India, okay, because the fundamentals of it, right, being that it is a profit-driven society, that these companies are driven by generating more and more profit for the owners, the shareholders of these companies. They are willing to um you know I mean that mindset is all across the globe. Any capitalist society, it has the same mindset. Okay, and the evil elites, the rulers of the world, they are conspiring to mistreat the whole of humanity. Okay, so that they can generate more profit, so that they can squeeze more juice out of people. In essence, okay, more money, more resources out of people. And when shit hits the fan, when things turn dark with oncoming wars, a dystopian future that looms ahead. Okay, with AI replacing people, with many people on the brink of unemployment, many people being displaced out of the labor market. Many of these people, they will just rot away, and the people who profited from their misfortune, they'll just walk away and buy sanctuaries for themselves, buy lands for themselves. Okay, they will insulate themselves by buying private bunkers. Okay, so when shit hits the fan, that they will be safe, while you have to live in this dystopian future. But let's jump straight into the video.
Indian workers are tired. Survey after survey show.
So obviously this is a video based in India and telling you the experience of Indian people in the Indian workforce. But when you're watching it, don't just assume that okay, this is happening just in in India. This is happening all across the globe. Okay, all company owners, all CEOs, all governments in essence view their people the same way. Okay, so just because it is happening elsewhere and you think you might be safe where you are right now, this could be a potential scenario coming into your country.
A majority are suffering from burnout.
I remember breaking down, crying on the prayer mat, like, oh, what do I do? Do I even want this?
Yet industry leaders, like Infosys founder Narayana Murthy, argue that Indian youths should work 70 or more hours a week.
Yeah, they want to squeeze as much productivity out of you. They want to squeeze you off your life force. Okay, you're just seen as a resource to these people. You get paid for it. Okay, and then if you are one of those people who goes against the grain, okay, they will shame you for it. They're saying that you're not doing your part for the nation. Okay, and they will emotionally blackmail you in essence, right? They will make you feel less than. They will say that oh, you have to sacrifice for your country, you have to do your part. Okay, when the people who you're giving all this effort towards, right, they're not reciprocating that. Okay, because you're just a number on the screen for them. You are just another literally just a resource for them to use and abuse and to discard.
All to boost the nation's productivity and economic growth.
And that's what it's all about, productivity and economic growth. Okay, it's the same model in China. The other day we explored the rat people, the laying flat movement in China. Where people, are just overworked. Okay, the 996, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. These people are feeling a burnout and they're not getting no reward for it. Okay, it'll be a different story if they're, if the monetary value that they will get, reciprocated with, okay, in terms of the salary, if the benefits that they were seeing, if the quality of life that they were living, matched the output, the sacrifices that these people are making. Okay, but it doesn't anymore. Okay, because of inflation, your wealth, the value of the money that you're making is becoming, less every single day. Okay, everything's getting more and more expensive, right? You have all these world disasters happening around the globe. Okay, wars being started where you have no control or no say in whether this war happens or not, right? The US and Israel are invading Iran, okay, which is going to cause a massive spike in oil prices, okay, and the effects will be felt, in countries where they had no say whether this war will happen or not, okay, and these people will suffer. These people's money is being stolen via inflation, okay, because inflation, you have to look at it, right? Inflation is a way for rich people, the governments, and people who own assets to steal money out of your pocket, okay, because the value of your currency is going down, the value of assets is going up, so these people are literally profiting via demand and supply. Okay, so if you understand basic economics, right, this is a legal way that they can steal money out of your pocket. Okay, because everything has become more expensive, people are suffering a cost of living crisis all across the globe. Okay, and many people are feeling the hardship. Many people are feeling that they are being squeezed from all sides.
Indians have to work harder. Okay? Is that like Narendra Modi said, one generation has to sacrifice so the future is better.
So, Indians have to work harder than everybody else in the world. Okay. Indians have to. Why? Why do they have to work harder? Right? Because they are sacrificing themselves. They're sacrificing. And what does that mean? Right? They're sacrificing themselves. Obviously, they're not going to war. Right? They're going into offices where they just sit, in front of a computer, in factories. Okay. In fields, if they're farmers, for example. These people are sacrificing their time, right, their freedom, right, in exchange for being productive. Okay, but the value of their productivity is not being reciprocated in terms of a fair exchange in wages, a fair exchange in lifestyle, right, what that wage can buy you, right? Because I mean, India is um has a population of over 1 billion people, right? So the competition is so fierce. It's not like people can band together and strike, right? Because if you do, goodbye, okay, you'll get your job replaced. People are willing and fighting for these jobs, right? And it is very easy for them to find a replacement for you, right? So there is a oversupply in labor. Okay, the demand for these jobs is out of control right now, right? And especially with AI coming, and if AI will be able to do your job for fraction of the cost, then they'll just get rid of more and more people, and the demand for these jobs will keep increasing. Okay, but the supply of labor, the people willing to do those jobs, are still remain, because India produces very, very highly educated people. It's a very, very competitive job market. Okay, people are really, really being abused in that world.
Are long hours necessary for success?
Yeah, I mean, people, it's not even about the quality of work that you produce, okay? Because you might be able to do, um, you know, 100, you might be able to save yourself 100 hours of productivity, right? By thinking of one solution within an hour, okay? But because you don't put in the hours, because you don't put in the 70 hours, which that guy, earlier said, you're seen as, oh, being lazy. Okay, so you're being shamed for being good at your job, okay? Because people are measuring you not by the quality of work that you produce. They are measuring the amount of time that you're spending at the job, which is actually, that doesn't mean you are productive. Okay, it just means you're, right, that it, if one person, it takes them 2 hours to complete a task, and you have another colleague of theirs who takes 5 hours, right? And that person, is in front of their desk for 5 hours, whereas the other person for 2 hours gets the job done, right? And then gets to chill, relax, so he's fresh for the next task, which he again will be able to overcome, and work at that task, right? At that project. Okay. Who's more productive, right? To the managers, to the people measuring productivity, the person who spends more time on their computer, even though that they're slower, is seen as working harder. Okay. So it is an unfair system where these people are not being rewarded for their time spent on a job.
If you are not ready to do it, there are at least 500 other people who are.
There you go. Look, it's not even like, if you don't do it, there's another person. There's 500 more people there. Okay, 500 more people ready to replace you. Okay, this is, because it is a overpopulated country. It is a very, very um, a saturated job market. Okay, there's more workers willing to take a job, one of these high position jobs. Okay, and there's not enough of them. All right, there's too many workers, not enough jobs, and it is causing the salaries to remain low. Okay, because they're also, then it pushes down the cost um to the employers, right? Which is why you are seeing many people working very hard and struggling, because if they don't, they will be replaced.
Just how grueling are Indian workplaces?
We have a very ingrained feeling that once I hire a person, his life, his time, everything I can.
I mean, I mean, what is that, right? Like, if I hire a person, okay, I feel like but basically he just said I own that person, right? Like, is that a fair system to live in, right? That if you are hired to do a job, right, um, that person literally owns your soul in essence, right? Where were we? Hang on.
His life, his time, everything I can utilize.
His life and his time. Okay, so if I give you a job, your life, your time, your freedom, okay, I own you by your fucking balls. Okay, is that a fair system? Okay, is that a fair system to live in? Because he in essence, he really does. Okay, even though on paper it seems like a fair exchange, right? But the power structure that is in play there, right, it is invisible, right? Because if you don't do what he says, the hiring manager, the owner of that company, okay, they'll just get rid of you. Okay. And then if they get rid of you, like, where else are you going to work? Okay. Because it is um, a very, very competitive job market. right? So it's not like you can just walk away from this job and go find another job, right? So these people really do own you, okay, because you have a family to run, you have kids to to feed, right? You have you need to earn money for the survival of your family, right? So they do own these people's souls.
whenever I want.
And
And look how happy he is as well. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, look at his face.
His life, his time, everything I can
Like look how happy he is.
utilize.
Like, do you get what I mean? Like, no remorse, right? Like, no remorse. Like, right? Like, you can really see it there. Hang on. Like, yeah, his life, his time, he can utilize it, and he is happy to do it. This guy's
Whenever
happy to do it, right? Like, because he does not give a fuck. You're just another soul for him to use and abuse.
I want.
And could burnout become a nationwide crisis?
Burnout is one of the most noxious, toxic, omnipresent stresses that we're dealing with.
The thing is, if people become burnt out and too overworked and overstressed, right? And especially with new technology advancements coming, or with AI coming to be able to, because a lot of these jobs, they are computer based. A lot of these jobs are, analyzing data. Okay, which is, a lot of Western companies outsource, that type of work to India, right? They kind of utilize the fact that India has a very highly skilled labor force, especially when it comes to computer engineering, when it comes to maths and science, right? Like in these technical STEM areas, India produces a very highly skilled workforce, right? But if you have a coder that you're paying and he's just too stressed to turn up to the job, right? AI will never be stressed. Okay, so with this new technology coming to easily replace a lot of these jobs, right? With a lot of people, really dependent on these jobs, and if this technology comes and replaces them, you're going to see a lot of unemployment and a lot of more hardship within India.
The South Indian city of Bengaluru, often called the Silicon Valley of India. As the world's fastest growing tech hub, thousands of young Indians come to the city with dreams of landing a job in the sector, like Ravi.
These Western companies are leveraging the fact that they have demand for these jobs, right? And then they outsource them, right? And the other thing is like, these jobs used to be in Western countries, right? But because you have to pay to hire an employee like in America or the UK or in Europe, right? Like you have to pay a higher wage, right? Compared to if you outsource that job to India, okay? Because of the higher demand for these jobs and this very highly skilled labor market, right? So these companies are really exploiting a loophole in the global market, right, by allowing themselves to outsource and use the system of India to pay low wages.
Back then, I'm speaking of 4 to 5 years ago, the competition was intense. The competition was intense for the right reason. You had very qualified candidates out there.
So high competition due to very highly qualified candidates for these jobs
Who were applying for the same job. So it was a very tough time where I had to figure out different ways for me to get the attention from the hiring managers.
So again, he's talking about how competitive it was, how much anxiety he felt, how difficult it was during that period. And this is why on this channel, right, like what I'm talking about is for you to not play this game anymore, okay? For you to not be just another employee, for you to not just be part of the labor market, okay? You need to be the owner of a market. Do you get what I mean? You need to be owner of a niche. You need to be owner of your own category. You need to become somebody who is carving out a unique proposition for yourselves, okay? And the way that we do that here on this channel is by being in our life purpose, by being and finding and diving deep into the things that we find most interesting. Okay, the things that come easy to us, and we extrapolate it. We go in further. Okay, we come up with new ways of looking at the world. Right, whatever your passion is, whatever the thing is that you find most interesting, right? We become subject matter experts in that field, right? And once we do that, we establish authority. We are seen as points of authority. Okay, and it is easy for us to then rise to the top within that field, because we are the masters of that, right? And once you are at the top of that field, it was easy for you to um establish yourself and be seen as a king, right? Because if you're top of the food chain, right, you literally own that whole food chain. You own the pyramid. Okay, and if you're the owner of the pyramid, you are a pharaoh, you are a king. Okay, you are royalty. And this is how we are rising to the top. Okay, and it's not just me doing this. All right, I'm looking for 100 people to join me on this journey to rise to the top, to become the new royal elite. Okay, we will overthrow the current elite. We will overthrow the current world order. We will become the new ruling class, because we are the ones establishing kingdoms. Okay, we are forging alliances with other kings, 100 kings coming together to join the royal alliance that I am forming. Join the amicis. Okay, amicis is friends in Italian, and you'll be surrounded by 100 other kings who are people that you can trust, people that you can depend on, people who really have your best interest at heart, who will have your back when times get tough. Okay, people where you can come together and share new insights. Okay, share creative ideas, come up with new creative solutions to solve the problems of the world, right? And we are doing it in all fields. Okay, we are not leaving any stone unturned. Okay, we are going for the jugular. We are rising to the top. We are building a new world. Okay, because most people won't do fuck all. Most people won't do fuck all, not because they're less than or that they're not capable of. Okay, but because most people have been trained by society, by mainstream media, to remain small, to be fearful. Okay, and we are able to achieve this goal because we remove any self-doubt that we have. We remove any fear that is holding us back, to unleash our genius. Okay, for us to be in our zone of genius and become the de facto rulers of the world.
So that they would even give me a chance to interview, right?
So it's not even like the job for the competition, is getting a fucking interview first.
Ravi has asked to remain anonymous for fear of being blacklisted by employers for speaking out. As his career as a product manager progressed, Ravi moved to different companies, each one larger and more prestigious than the last.
And that is how they get you, right? That they sell you a dream of working for a prestigious company, right? And for example, me, when I graduated economics at university, right, I got a job. Okay, I first got a job at a export company. Okay, like a very, very small independent export company, selling power tools across Europe. Okay, and selling it to some multinationals such as Costco, and then after I'd done that for about a year, I got a job at like Deloitte, for example, and then I worked there, and then I moved on to bigger and bigger banks. So I went from Deloitte, I went to JP Morgan, and then I went to Barclays, right? So I kept jumping up higher and higher and higher, thinking, and every time, like at the time, I was a young man, I was in my 20s. I thought, oh, this is great, I'm working my way up to like the biggest banks in the world, right? I must be like, I must be really fucking good. I must be, like I must be really, I must be somebody. And then when you start working there, once you realize what the situation is, you realize that you're just a cog in a machine. Okay, that you are just a a slave in a tie and suit, right? Okay, that you're well dressed, well groomed slave, right? Because they will abuse you, they will work you to the ground, and if you don't do what they say, they will just get rid of you. They don't care. They don't give a fuck about you. You're just a number on the spreadsheet to them, right? It is all about output and productivity. And I got disillusioned with that. I was like, fuck this. I am better than that. Okay, I want to rise to the top. I want to own something instead of just being part of something, pushing forward somebody else's agenda. which is why I gave up. I walked away from the system, and now I am creating my new system. Okay, and I'm not going to do it alone. I'm going to do it with 100 people who watch this content. They understand what I'm saying. They want to be part of it. They want to change the world. I am looking for you. This is your bat signal.
When I got into my third company, it was great initially. It was one of the finest companies to work for. You're looking at projects that's all for millions of people that make billions of dollars in annual revenue. So the pressure is crazy. You start questioning your ability, like you have the typical imposter syndrome, like do I even belong here? And I think the pressure came from not knowing if I was doing the right thing or not.
Yeah, you have to understand that at these companies, right? Like they hire a bunch of people, they throw them into the job, okay, and it's kind of sink and swim, right? Like they give you a bunch of tasks and you have to do it, right? And a lot of time, because of the fierce competition, you can't ask other employees to help you because they're your competition, right? So they, they're not going to give you any like a handout. They're not going to help you and hold your hand to do it, right? So you really are relying on your ability to solve these problems that they have at these companies. Okay. And a lot of the time, even the managers are incompetent, right? Most of the time, the managers have no clue what the fuck that you're doing. Okay. But they just want a result, right? They want a result and they will push you and push you and push you to do it. And if you don't do it, if the project goes down, okay, the manager will just blame you, the worker. Right. So they'll just throw you under the bus. And there is no loyalty. Okay. They have no allegiance towards you. They will just absolutely use and abuse you.
Within months, he felt his work start to slip.
How that manifested was, again, in my work. My documents, my artifacts would not be as crisp as before.
Yeah, basically, because he's working, right, like 70, 80, 90 hours a week, 100 in some cases, right? Because he's working these crazy hours, right, and putting his life and soul into his work, okay, to produce results. You can't keep that up, right? Like you can do it for a week, maybe, right? 2 weeks max, right? Like, I mean, even then, like ideally you, if you have to do it as a last resort, okay? But because the pressure, the work never finishes in these companies, right? It is constant, okay? It is always coming in and they want more, 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 more from you, right? And the worst thing is, right, if you're good at your job, they'll give you more work, right? Because they know they can't trust the incompetent people, right, at your company. They'll throw it on your desk and expect you to do two people's worth of work, okay, instead of giving it to somebody else, right? Because they trust you more and the quality of your work's harder. So then you work twice as hard as everybody else, okay, and because you're pushing yourself up to your limit, right, week after week after week, you're gonna get burnt out. You cannot keep it up. You cannot stay, you can't stay sharp, right? And because you can't do that, and then your work starts to slip, like this guy's going to explain, and because the quality of your work goes down, right? They're then going to be like, well, what the fuck's wrong with you, right? And then they'll threaten you, they give you a warning, and then they'll try and push you out the door and replace you with somebody else.
And it got to a point where I would even dread opening my laptop. Like I would wake up, like, oh, here we go again, and
Yeah, because for a lot of these people, it's like, it is relentless. Okay. It's every single waking moment, especially now, with smartphones, with Wi-Fi readily available everywhere. Okay. You're expected to log on from home and bring your work back home, right? Your manager will contact you and be like, oh, where the fuck is this spreadsheet? Send me this email. It is continuous, right? And this is, why many of these people aren't able to cope
have
anymore.
to work. I don't want to work. I remember breaking down, crying on the prayer mat, like, oh, what do I do? Do I even want this?
At the time, Ravi did not realize he was suffering from the symptoms of work-related burnout.
Burnout is one of the most noxious, toxic, omnipresent stresses that we're dealing with. Some of the symptoms could be a feeling of exhaustion, chronic exhaustion, either physically or mentally. You feel like you don't want to work, you can't work. A feeling of irritability is very common.
Yeah, I mean, you need breaks, okay? You need to move away from your work sometimes and, free your mind to make new creative solutions, okay? This is why I'm telling you to be in your life's genius zone, in your purpose, okay? Your life purpose, explore that world, okay, work at the things that you find interesting, okay, because then you can't experience burnout, right? Then you don't get you know, like you don't get consumed by it, because you know there is a genuine interest and genuine curiosity which you are always exploring, okay. But a lot of the time, the great insights that somebody has is when they walk away from their desk, okay, when they, you know, allow their brain to process all the information that you've just had, right? And then you can make these connections that you would have not been able to see if you're just, you know, always stuck at your desk, okay, always looking at the problems. All right, you need to sometimes be able to step away. Like if you think about it, you know, Isaac Newton, right, famously, you know, he works out what gravity is, okay. He's able to, you know, he didn't invent gravity, obviously, right, but he experienced the phenomenon of gravity when he was chilling under a tree and an apple hit his head. Okay, and then he worked out, okay, the apple falls down. Why is it falling down? Okay, oh, because of the gravitational pull that is pulling everything down onto towards the Earth's core. Okay, and you know, if he wasn't able to chill, and if he was always just fucking working, he would not have been able to make that observation or that connection, right? So it is very, very important for you to rest. Okay. And that is why a lot of people have their best thoughts and ideas in the shower, right? They have their eureka moments, right? When they are doing something else, something mundane, where their mind is kind of, you're having a shower, washing your body, right? And your mind is kind of just on autopilot, right? And your brain, the back of your brain, is able to think of other little ideas that you've got just floating around in your head. And then you have this eureka moment because your mind wasn't totally focused and consumed by work or a task at hand. Okay, it had time to think, time to make new connections. Okay, and that is why it is important to rest and so that you can be fully productive.
Burnout is a problem facing more and more young Indians. A 2023 McKinsey survey found that 59% of Indian respondents reported burnout-related symptoms. And Indian workers say they are tired. Almost 6 in 10 say they face workplace exhaustion, one of the highest rates globally. Plum, a health benefits platform, did their
Doesn't that sound the same as the documentary about China that we watched the other day, about the rat people, about the laying flat movement? Okay, people are exhausted, people are overworked, overtired. Okay, because this work is non-stop, it is relentless, right? It is, literally these people are being exploited, okay, for their productivity, right? And if they don't do it right, they will suffer real consequences because they could potentially lose their jobs.
own worker survey.
We did the survey across a lot of employee base of corporate India. 55% of the employees generally report anxiety in an organization in their day-to-day work. And about close to 36% of the employees this month would have taken a day off just for their mental health. We see 63% experience anxiety.
But if you decide to take time off for your mental health, if you decide to put yourself first, right, many people will call you a pussy. They say, oh, you're being lazy, you're being selfish, right, you're weak. Okay, that it doesn't make you weak if you're actually overworked, right? A lot. And the other thing is, right, because a lot of these jobs are office-based jobs, right? And they're not manual jobs, right? Because you're sitting down in front of a computer, right? And it doesn't, from the outside, it physically doesn't actually look that straining, right? But because your brain is constantly going, right? It is taking in so much information and thinking, right? And that is what's overworking these people. Okay, it is the constant strain and focus that they have to make, that they have to have in order for them to be productive. Okay, so older people, generation, who may not have experienced office work, they'll just see like, oh, your job's easy, you just sit around all day on the computer. But like, um, don't allow other people to call you weak or say that you are lazy or lying just because you're feeling and suffering real burnout, because they just don't have that experience. Okay, and this is a problem that is going to become more prevalent all across the world. Many more people will suffer because the job market is getting harder and harder.
Every day, 10 points above the global average. 87% of Indian employees report moderate or high level of stress on regular basis.
I used to hit the gym 5 times a week. I used to eat healthy. I used to sleep on time. But then the work was so stressful that I would wake up and the first thing I would do is I would check my phone and read the messages from at work like it was morning newspaper.
Most of the data we have about burnout is on salaried workers, the Indian middle class. In a survey of almost 1,500 IT workers, 1 in 4 say they clock over 70 hours a week. Gig workers, like food delivery riders, can put in between 10 and 12 hours daily. Some have clocked 20 hours. Meanwhile, half of doctors say that they work more than 60 hours a week, with 15% putting in more than 80 hours. In a 2021 government survey, 65% of teachers said that they are overworked. Public schools enroll about 50.
Yeah, so it's not even just office workers, it's also people who are in education, right? And I think later on they go into hospitals and doctors as well, right? The whole labor market in India is fucked, right? These people are overworked, these people are really suffering. Okay, and the government in India, right, doesn't actually care. Okay, because what they see is an overpopulated country, right? They see um huge a pool of people, that a resource, basically. Okay, they don't see them as humans, they see it as a resource, and they want to use it to make the country more productive, to make people to boost its to turn India into a global superpower. Okay, they're looking at the Chinese model and what they did, to become one of the biggest economies in the world. Okay, and India wants to replicate it, in a way to compete on a global scale, right? And the Prime Minister of India, Modi, he wants to be the one who has achieved that goal of putting India, as the biggest superpower in the world. Okay, he wants that credit. Okay, so he is willing to push and push and push these people because he does not give a fuck. He just wants the results. Okay, it is a total egotistical way of viewing the world.
50% of all students. Z is a government school teacher in India's capital, Delhi.
And it's not even just the teachers, right? It's also the students, right? So the reward of educating yourself, okay, of passing exams or studying hard, right? The reward is that you get to be abused in the labor market, right? But many of these students are also suffering. It is very competitive, just like it is in Korea, right? Just like it is in China, right? These people are absolutely being pushed to the brink.
मैं तो खुद जूझ चुकी हूँ। मेरा ना हेडेक जो है इतना होता था हद से ज़्यादा, मतलब मुझे ना दिन में 2-2 पेन किलर तो लेनी ही पड़ती।
2-3 painkillers every day just to stop her migraine, stop her headaches, because of the constant stresses that she faces due to her work.
बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रेसफुल रहता है। 8 बजे से लेके 2 बजे तक हम सिंगल पैर पे खड़े रहते हैं। मैं खुद 65 स्टूडेंट्स को एक साथ लेके पढ़ाते हैं हम एक क्लास में।
65 students in a classroom. I mean, that is absolutely crazy, right? Like, I mean, just think about it, 65 students, right? Like, and to manage them, and you know what kids are like, okay? Like they're gonna be loud, they're gonna be, throwing shit. Children are children, right? So to control a whole room, all day on your feet, like she said, it is exhausting, right? And then she has to go, and then teachers, right? A lot of the time they have to mark homework and papers. They take that work home. Okay, so it's not like she's just doing it while she's during office hours, during the school day. No, she has to take that work home, and then in essence, Indian teachers do twice the work of a teacher in the West. right? And here in the West, if you ask a teacher, right, they are overworked already. Okay, their job is very stressful. Okay, so these people are absolutely being abused.
In one survey, a majority of teachers, 55%, say that they struggle to complete work-related tasks due to stress.
जॉब हमारी पूरे 24 घंटे की है। कोई भी पेरेंट रात को 10-10 बजे भी हमें
A 24-hour job, right? Where parents, because the parents obviously want the best for their child, right? Like they want to push that child so that he can do well at school, so that they can get a good education, so that they can get a good job, right? So the teachers, a lot of the time, are on the case of these children or of these teachers, right? So they'll phone them 10 p.m. in the middle of the night, okay, to question them, how's their studies going, okay, well, how are they doing at school, why did they get this result, okay, are you not competent, right? And it's not just one set of parents. She's got 65 students, okay, so 65 set of parents that she has to deal with on a daily basis.
कॉल कर देता है।
In professions such as healthcare and education, long working hours may be linked to staff shortages.
So long hours in a hospital, okay, in medicine, in the medical field, right? Due to staff shortages, okay, because they have, it's a population of over a billion people, right? And they don't have the demand, they don't have the available staff, to deal with so many patients. Okay, not enough nurses, not enough doctors, right? And just think about it from your point of view, right? Like if you have, like if you need surgery, for example, okay, if not you, like your loved one, like your parent or your husband or wife or whatever, right? If you or your loved one needs surgery, right, like let's say open heart surgery, do you want that surgeon to be overworked, overstressed, okay, to be tired when he performs his job? No, you want you want the fucking person who's going to save your life to be well rested, right? To not be overworked, overstressed, okay, so that he can perform it right as well as he can. Okay, you don't want this extra stress being placed upon him, right? So even right, what happens is that you have this workforce that is overworked, okay, and when it comes to real life and death situations, right, where you need competent people performing competent roles at their job, like doctors and surgeons, right? You know, i- if they're not working to the best of their ability, right, it can have real life consequences. Okay, so the whole, the patients suffer. The staff is suffering, the doctors are suffering, okay, and this bleeds out into the wider economy, right? So if you have an overworked workforce, right, in all industry, right, and then their performance starts to dwindle, okay, and it bleeds out and has real world consequences, okay, across the general population, right? Many people, right, probably a lot of people have died because of the incompetence due to the overworked medical staff.
In 2023, government data indicated that there were more than 800,000 vacant posts for primary and secondary school teachers nationwide. In healthcare, many rural areas face a shortage of doctors.
Yeah, because the biggest salaries are in the bigger cities. Okay, so if you spend all your life being a studying to be a doctor, okay, and then you get professionally trained, okay, like you are then going to go wherever the jobs are, right? You are going to go wherever the whoever pays you the most money. And if you're just a doctor in in the countryside, in a small village, you're just not going to make the same amount of money as you would being in a big major city, right? And a lot of people, right, like they go abroad. Okay, they come to work in Europe, right, in European countries, right, in the UK, in Canada, in Australia, right, the US, obviously not because of the H1B visas thing anymore, but like these people then emigrate, they get trained up there, right, but the best people then go abroad and fuck off somewhere else, right, to make money, because people are just going to go where the money goes, right? They are driven by money, they're driven by profit, and rightly so. However, real people are suffering across India because of this shortage.
The gap is particularly severe for specialists. Roughly 80% of specialist positions at rural community health centres remain unfilled. When posts are left vacant, existing staff often take on heavier workloads to compensate.
I do recognize that a lot of people don't really get to choose how many hours they want to work. Sometimes jobs are just designed in a way that you work 10.
It is a form of modern slavery, right? Because like they're kind of bound, right, by these golden handcuffs, okay, by these salaries. Because if they pull out of the job and they take time out to take care of their mental health, of their well-being, right, their families suffer. Okay, it's not that they'll probably I doubt that they get paid vacation, right? So they have to continuously work to support their children's education, to support healthcare, right? To support, their family, right? So these people, right, they're kind of bound by these golden handcuffs by their job, right? And then the employers abuse this system, right? And force them to work longer, harder hours, okay, to be more productive, right? Which is leading, it is a form of slavery if you look at it that way.
10 hours, 12 hours on the regular, every day, 5 days, 6 days, 7 days a week sometimes. And then that means that that just becomes what they are expected to do.
Dr. Rishu Sinha saw how the long
I'm going to forward it a bit because I want to see a little bit more. Oh, here, let's look at this guy, what he has to say.
And all those things. Even globally, Indian managers have very bad reputation that they will force people to work more.
Indian managers have globally a bad reputation. I mean, India has a bad reputation globally anyway, right? I mean, there's a lot of Indian hate all across the world, especially due to Twitter, right? But Indian managers have a bad reputation because they just push you and push you and push you to work harder, force you to work harder, and they will, if you don't perform as they do, as they say, they will just replace you, okay? Which is why they are able to abuse you.
We have a very ingrained feeling that once I hire a person, his life, his time, everything I can utilize whenever I want.
Yeah, and the other thing is, right, India is deeply embedded in the caste system, right? So, the higher castes are also, tend to get better education. If you're from a higher caste, you tend to get better jobs, right? And even if you are a higher caste person within a company, you're more likely to get promotion, right? Because the people who own these companies, they're of the same caste, so they kind of promote in groups upwards. And the people who have more junior positions or positions at the lower level, right? They a lot of the time that there might be like a lower caste, right? And then these higher castes are able to abuse the lower castes, right? And because it's kind of ingrained within the culture, many people just put up with it. Okay, and they have obviously laws and legislation which have been put in place to stop this type of discrimination, right? But the caste system is so ingrained within Indian culture, okay, within India, that it kind of just becomes part, of the everyday. Okay, but you're aware of it. It's like an invisible power, right, that the caste system holds over India. Okay, so until that is removed, until people stop fighting it, this type of power abuse will carry on, right? But the thing is, like, if you think about it, if you're a higher caste, right, if you're a member of the higher caste, the Brahmins, right, like, do you give a fuck? Okay, because if you have power, if you have any advantage in life, you will use it. Okay, and these people are using that power, that advantage that they have to wield over other people.
It's very evident that senior leaders of some of the Indian companies are saying that why should you stay at home on Sundays? How long you will look at your wife?
How long do you have to stay at home on Sunday? Like what the fuck your wife looks like. Get back to work. Like, it is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so even on a Sunday, one day of rest, right? God's day. Okay, even on the Sunday, right? Your your employer's like, look, man, you have had the morning off. Okay, you've already fucked your wife. Like, how many times are you gonna do it? Like, get back to work now, right? I mean, it is, like, is there no sense of empathy for these people that they need some time off, right? That they need to, recover, recoup, so that they Monday morning can be, in a position where they can finally, be more productive, right? So even one day of work of rest is not acceptable in India.
I think the expectation that's kind of there from corporates has always been to keep your personal life second. They're always trying to kind of maximize the output.
So, the corporations are telling people in India to keep your personal life secondary, right? So take a back seat. In essence, that is your freedom gone, right? They see you. They're saying, your main task, your main purpose in life is to, you are living to work. Okay, you're not here. You don't work to live, right? You are living to work, right? Your whole purpose in life is to work, to be a servant, to be a slave, to be somebody who is here to do a task, a job. Okay, and your actual personal life, when you go back home, your children, your missus, your family, your friendships, right? Forget all that. You know, don't that does not count anymore, because you are now a corporate slave in India. That is how they get you. They get you by the balls, and they take away your freedoms. This is why I encourage you to be in your life purpose. This is why I encourage you to become a subject matter expert, for you to rise, to be seen as a point of authority, to become a king, so that you can live a life of freedom, so that you can be a leader, because the world needs more leaders. Okay, many people are suffering in India. They need a leader to that they can follow, that they can that can guide them towards a better way of living. Okay, and here at Raw Instinct, we are creating a new way of living. We are creating our own system. Okay, we are building kingdoms. We are buying private islands where we will move to, where we will be outside of the current system, the evil system set up by the global elites. Okay, we will break tyranny. We will not be allowed to be abused, and we will stop any abuse of these people.
They're able to get out of people and minimize what they're kind of putting in, which is how corporates work. For me, burnout began in the phase or in the form of a lack of recognition. You start asking yourself why.
I mean, think about that, right? So these people sacrifice their bodies, their health, their mental well-being, right? All their free time, right? They sacrifice time spent with the family. Okay, so even like their children are experiencing a shittier version of their dad, right? The shittier parent version of their parent. Okay, they're not getting the same amount of time spent. Okay, the time with their parents. Okay, so they're getting a shittier upbringing as well. Okay, right? But no, it doesn't matter, right? It does not matter, because it's all about profit. It's all about you know putting the company first, right? So these people are absolutely not taking into account the well-being of their people.
Right?
Yeah, and then for all of that, okay, so you sacrifice everything for this company. Okay, you sacrifice everything for your job, right? Your manager pushes you to the absolute limit. Okay, and then zero recognition, right? Like no reward, right, for working hard, for going above and beyond. Okay, they do not recognize, right? It is just expected, right? It is just expected. Okay, and humans need recognition. Okay, we thrive off of it. We are very community driven. We need a sense of purpose. We need a sense of fulfillment. So these jobs have no purpose or fulfillment. Okay, it is just a task that you're doing, okay, to increase productivity, right? And of course these people are going to be burnt out. Okay, because if they were rewarded justly, right, in terms of satisfaction, if they felt some sense of satisfaction from their job, okay, burnout doesn't happen then. Okay, because then you get this extra surge of energy to produce work. Okay, it makes you want to do it because you are fulfilled.
And why am I doing this? What's the point of this? Or like, what sort
Why am I doing this? What's the point of this? Haven't you heard this many times in wherever you live? Right, like it's not just India, it's all across the world that this is happening. Okay, and it is going to become more and more prevalent, especially with AI taking more and more jobs, and the job market becoming more and more competitive all across the globe. Okay, you're going to see the abuse of power by these corporations, by managers, by bosses, to ramp up, right? Which is going to lead to more burnout, more suffering, more pain all across the globe. Okay, this is where we're headed. Before it does, make sure you escape, get out of it. Okay, step up, be the hero that the world needs. Okay, Be the hero that you need, you, your family, your loved ones, your friends. Okay. If it ain't you, who will it be? Right. So you have to decide whether you want to, get up off your chair, off your ass, and become the hero that the world needs. Right. Or are you just going to sit down and take it? Take it straight up the ass, okay? Get abused, get walked all over, okay? Get shat on by everybody else, right? And then what's going to happen then? You're going to suffer burnout, okay? You're going to suffer a mental health crisis, okay? Your health will suffer, right? And you can just fade back, into the background, be an NPC, right? Or you could be the one who decides to do something about it, to stand up, be a leader, be counted. Okay, that is what we need. We need more heroes. We need more people in charge, people who are good, okay, who have good intentions for people. Okay, that is what I'm bringing together. Right, I'm sending out the bat signal. I'm here to assemble the Avengers. Okay, I'm bringing together the heroes of the world. I'm bringing together 100 kings, people who want to build kingdoms, people who want to start new nations, so that we can be the savior for humanity, the savior that the world needs. Okay, because the evil people are running it to the ground.
What is the outcome?
In the 1990s and 2000s, India's IT sector expanded rapidly, driven by cost competitiveness combined with large-scale delivery and strong technical capabilities.
Let's jump further ahead a little bit as well.
Compared to, as you get older, the burnout becomes lesser of a problem. But
yeah, because as you get older, you tend to, be pushed up into a managerial role. Okay. So then you kind of dictate your own pace of your work, right? And also, you have experience. You have that experience built in, so you know the best way to do a task. Okay. So it is much easier for you to, control that workload. Okay. But many people are now, pushed so far. And the thing is, managerial roles, right? There aren't as many managerial roles as there are just worker roles. Okay, which is, these people that he is describing are, becoming fewer every day.
in all these individuals between 18 to 35 years, I think so burnout was the time they are in their careers, they are trying to set up things at that particular time.
The urban middle class has grown up to glorify hard work and
Yeah, I mean, how often have you heard it? Okay, like, oh, like, work hard, just work hard, like just get results, right? And there is this sense of glorification that comes from it, where you are seen as a hero, sacrificing yourself, your body, your time to bring about a certain result. Okay, and we really glorify hard work. Hard work's important. I'm not telling you to not work hard. Okay, but it is kind of glorified, the sense of sacrificing oneself for your job. Okay, which is now, if you have that type of mentality, that type of narrative running through a country, okay, it is going to cause many people to abuse that narrative and causing many people to burn out.
and also the suffering of hard work, it has been recognized as a virtue. We grow up being told to work hard in school and get good marks, and that gets us.
Yeah, I mean, these people are trained from an early age to work hard, okay, to be a slave to the work, right? That they are being groomed, okay, like literally they're being groomed from a young age to behave a certain way, okay, and then they are pushed and pushed and pushed to be educated. Then they're pushed and pushed and pushed to get a job, okay, and then they're pushed within those jobs up to the brink where it is now a national crisis.
Affection from parents and appreciation from teachers, and working hard has meant that you get more money and you get more opportunities.
There you go. It's all about money. It's all about the opportunity. It's all about being seen to be somebody, to be seen as a hard worker, to be seen as somebody who is a an upstanding member of society, right? Like, it is all about the way that you're perceived and what you have, the resource that you have. Okay, this is what people are doing for, and they are selling themselves short. Okay, there is other ways to go about it, right? Which is why I'm looking for the best people, the people who have similar sort of values, people who have the same beliefs as I have, to build new nations, to be kings. Okay, that is what we are doing here. We are the new ruling elites.
Even if the correlation is not as exact, it has, at least in the psyche of people, meant that.
Let's jump forward.
It is only profit, and an employee is only registration ID, nothing else. If they are gone, they'll take the next person. The work will continue. That is all. Only we have lost our child.
So this is basically a young lady. You know, she worked for a corporation, and you know, the stress got too much for her. She ended up taking her own life. And this is now her parents. That was her mother speaking, telling you about, these companies don't give a fuck. Yeah, they don't give a fuck because they'll just replace you. Okay, so they will use and abuse you, right? And this has real, consequences and suffering. Okay, I mean that was I don't. It was the only child, maybe, right? Their daughter, and that woman, that these parents now have to live for the rest of their lives. Okay, I mean, what are they in the 60s, 70s, right? For another 10, 20, 30 years, whatever. Okay, with this grief in the heart. Okay, because especially if you lose a child, right? Any age. Okay, it is you know, a parent isn't supposed to bury their child, right? It should be the other way around. Um, and these people are going to suffer for the rest of their lives, yeah, because of the grief that they experienced.
In the last couple of years, there have been other reports of work stress related deaths. In the city of Lucknow, a bank executive died of a heart attack at work. In Bengaluru, a tech executive was found dead after facing work-related pressures. In Kerala, a 23-year-old took his own life.
I mean, like, when there's no way out for these people, right? When they are, when they have this idea that, okay, I must work hard, right? And if I don't do, then I'm not, I don't have no value, right? There must be something wrong with me if I'm feeling stressed at work, okay? Because it becomes part of their self-esteem, okay? And these, I mean, it's not that they have high self-esteem, okay? And because they have low self-esteem, and they're trying to, chase this recognition through their work, it is leading for many of these people to overwork themselves, okay, and die of a fucking heart attack, okay, die of overstressed, right? Or like in that case, well, the young lady and this other guy taking their own lives, okay. It's a very sad story. It's a very sad story. It's unnecessary suffering. There could be things in place, especially in India. I mean, they have such a large workforce, right? Where spread the work around. Okay, it's a potential scenario. Oh, but that's unlikely to happen. It's more likely that AI will come and replace many of these people, and then what you're going to see is more and more, uh, unemployment in India, and the people who do have those jobs. Okay, because there'll be more competition for them, they're going to be even more under more pressure to perform and keep those jobs, right? So it is just a vicious cycle. The elites don't give a fuck. They want to just use and abuse you and then throw you to the roadside, which is why I decided to walk away. I'm not taking part in this anymore. I am somebody who is going to come up with my own system. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm doing here on this channel. Okay, I'm bringing together 100 kings, 100 good people to build kingdoms, to become subject matter experts, so that we are seen as points of authority, so that we can become the new leaders that the world needs. Because the world needs more leaders. They need a better leadership group, and that is who we're becoming. Okay, but that is it for today. Thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow.